it's a very, very good morning and a very special morning when you get to talk to one of your favorite artists from the Indian independent music scene. And it's all the more special when it's somebody, whose journey you have watched all along and somebody with whom you feel that you have also kind of grown as a person and as a listener. But Hanita Bhamri, what a pleasure it is to be hosting you all over again after a year and a half. But I have to just say I am blessed right now at this moment. But thank you so much for talking to me today on VJ's playlist. How have you been?
I'm good, and thank you so much for having me. And I'm very excited to talk to you today and just in general tell you what I've been up to.
I'm sure it's been a lot. We are here to talk about your latest single, Gir Ke Ut Padenge Hum. And I think this song somewhere is a culmination of a lot of people's journey, and especially from whatever little that you and I have known of each other, of social media or, of it. I think somewhere it resonates with a lot of us who have been through a huge turmoil of sorts in the last year and a half or two, ever since this pandemic kind of, really gripped all of us. And somewhere it left all of us very overwhelmed and anxious and, completely uncertain of what the future entailed. And when I hear the song, the first thing I even remember, I had just put it on my playlist and kind of posted about it. But when I first heard the song, the first thing that I did was I just sat by myself and for about, I'm not sure, it's not like I would have timed it, but I just continued, like I just kept on crying and crying and crying and I just let it all out. It was like I had kept so much, like held up within me and I just let it all out. And, thank you for that song so much, Anita. My first question when I have to ask you about Gir Ke Ut Padenge Hum is, from what emotional space did you pen this song? And what was it that you wanted to convey, at least for yourself as a person? The artistic side of it comes later, but as a person, what is it that you wanted to convey through this song?
When I was writing this song, I was in a very tough mental space. I was really, really struggling. And when I was writing this song, it came as a way to, assure myself that just keep fighting, just keep going. And you have survived all of your worst days. You've survived heartbreak, you've survived loss. And whatever this feeling it is that you're feeling right now, things will get better. And like I've personally struggled with depression, which is very different from heartbreak or grief. And it has a slow burn, it's always there. And it's a lot more, it's very different, and it's hard to know when things will get better. It's a lot longer. And you just keep hoping that like you got better so many times before in your life, one day things will just be okay and you can just leave all this pain behind. And I think it was just a way for me to keep going during that difficult time.
Well, I hope, personally, you're in a better space right now. And if anything else, all I'd want to let you know is, on behalf of a lot of listeners and especially the honeybee cult, please know that you're not alone, and we always have your back. Hanita, I remember when Oceans also released, a couple of months ago. I don't know what was it about that song that made me mourn all that emotional investment, time and efforts that I had, sort of invested in all the wrong sorts of people. And not just romantically, but even in terms of friendship. And I remember, of course, with Girke Ut Padenge also, there was a different set of emotions that I was kind of mourning and grieving with. But when I heard Oceans, I felt like I have been very generous with my with my emotions and with my time and with my mental peace, for a lot of stupid people. So even with Oceans also, would you say more or less the feeling was the same, or how was even Ocean spent? Because I remember when you were when Oceans had released, we had just a very sweet exchange about it on Instagram, but we never really got a chance to sit down and talk about it at length. So, but do you want to tell me more about Oceans?
So, Oceans is a song I wrote, I think, in 2016. So, it
Oh,
had been a really long time since I wrote that song. And you can see the way that, the amount of vulnerability that is there in the song.
yeah.
It's very tough for me to just put it out and even record it and just, just let the world kind of peep into my personal life. And um I think that song for me now, I think even though it does, like, in retrospect, I can obviously look at the song and it does kind of make me think about those emotions. But because it's like so much time has passed, that there is sort of this detachment from it as well. There's like some healthy amount of distance from it, where, like, if I were to perform it live, it wouldn't kind of break me down, you know. So that song that I'd written, I was doing my masters at that time, and I had not been writing, I had not written anything in over a year. I was contemplating whether or not I should take up a marketing job, or like, I knew nothing about the music industry or like how to release music. I didn't know anything. So stopped writing altogether. I stopped singing, I stopped writing. And then one day emotions really became overwhelming, and that's when I picked up my ukulele and I just wrote that song. And yeah, it's a song that's like very close to my heart, and I'm really glad that you kind of felt whatever I was talking about.
I remember asking about this to Anushka Maski also a couple of months ago in one of my interviews, and I think it's very apt that I ask you this question, Hanida, because you have never shied away from putting out your vulnerabilities and the emotions that you feel within, some of which we are completely afraid of expressing it even now, out in the open, fearing judgment, fearing a certain level of ridicule, or we'll be made fun of. But when you
Hmm.
are doing that as an artist, how liberating it feels, or otherwise, or what is the deliberation that you have constantly as an artist, when you have to let out a lot about your personal life, for the sake of art?
um Honestly, like, it does change a little bit because of the time you take between writing and releasing,
Hmm.
because then you can actually look at it as a work of art versus having too much attachment to it, having too much to protect. And you can just be a little more, you can honor that a little bit more. um Being vulnerable online is very tough. It definitely does not come easy for me. Like, even though, like, as a person, I tend to wear my heart on my sleeve, but online it's a different thing altogether, because you have to put your life on display, and it is very tough. And I know a lot of people do manage creating a persona, and that persona is living a whole different life, and they have their own vulnerabilities and insecurities. But for me, like, it's hard to be two people at the same time. So whoever I am, I'm just that person. um and it's difficult to share all aspects of my life, but I feel like um whatever I'm sharing, it comes from a place of either feeling lighter about it, or it comes from
Yeah.
a place where I've already sort of dealt with it, and I feel like I'm in a better space to um talk about it, like I'm able to talk about it again, like without feeling any sense of shame or fearing judgment.
And I think, Hanita, you put it across absolutely correctly, because I know how much of putting yourself out and, kind of letting your emotions and, and in doing that, how much you enable a lot of us who follow you, um, with all the little notes that you keep penning on Instagram, and, that are accompanied with such cool doodling. Now, that's one aspect of yours that we would like to also get into, is you are, while you are also constantly trying to reinvent yourself through the way you write your songs, the way you're looking at production and composition. There's also this side of yours where you're getting a lot into artwork. You're constantly doodling. There's these illustrations that you, sort of put on Instagram, that contain very sweet little pieces of, affirmations and positivity. So while you are, uh, to an extent, if I may say, while you are also trying to, kind of engage with your fan base through what you do, how much do you discover about yourself in the process? How do you gain your strengths and your merits through all these little activities that you assign for yourself?
So doodling became it was a very unplanned thing. So there was a time, like I think about 1.5, 2 years, that I lost my voice, and it
Yeah,
was a very difficult time for me because I lost that one part of me that I could always escape into whenever things got difficult. And um I just randomly ordered a stylus off of Amazon, the cheapest one. And I hadn't like I used to draw as a kid, but I never really pursued that.
yeah,
But when I just got that stylus and I just started drawing things, and I still haven't like learned how to animate or draw, but I just started doing whatever, experimenting and everything, and people like really responded to it. And that's when I started putting out um, different reminders or a lot of written content where I just felt like people do resonate with whatever I'm saying. And like when I like as a child, when I wanted to become an artist, it was always because music had kind of saved me, and I wanted to be an artist whose music saves people. They listen to it and they feel like, okay, wait a minute, like the things will get better. I just need to get through this. I can pick myself back up. And that's the artist that I wanted to be. I wanted to be someone who saves lives. And that's almost like too ambitious of me to say, but that was kind of my aim. And when I was writing through doodles and other ways expressing my thoughts, I would get a lot of these Instagram messages that like I was having the worst day possible, and then I came across this, and it just has given me, like it's just made me feel so understood. And thank you for this. I found a lot of people saying thank you to me in the comments, and I was just like am I like, I just felt like I was being of service to people in a
yeah,
way was different than I could have ever imagined, because I always thought that I would be of service to people through my music and through my songs.
yeah.
And when that part of me kind of went away because of the loss of my voice, I felt very lost. And then that this was a way that I kind of felt like, hey, even if I actually lose that part of myself forever, because I was scared I would, there are other ways that I can sort of still continue doing what I set out to do as a kid.
More power to you, Hanita, and I don't see how is it ambitious or any less of it if if you are looking at saving lives, because clearly you are. The fact that so many of us in our respective rights, despite all that we go through, despite all that we chase, when we sit down and we have that moment of austerity, when we have that moment of solemnness to ourselves, and when we are hearing you out and listening to your work, seeing what you share, and we connect with it, you've done your job, and you've made a difference, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. But coming to the brighter side, Hanita, I think from the time we last spoke was when Rata Lambia had had its chill version. You were all over New York, and it was such a proud moment for all of us, because I remember back then when I was just about connecting with you, with Kamakshi, and a lot of amazing women from the music, from the independent music space. One of the biggest talking points, or one of the biggest concerns of most of us, was that we were looking at a lot of inclusivity and representation for women, and like it kind of still dreads that we are still chasing that, we are still looking for more inclusive spaces. But do you think from the last time that we connected to now that we speak, you think that a shift has been happening? Do you think that we are getting there? Do you think that yes, maybe people are sitting up and taking notice and hearing us out?
I mean, I feel like a lot of the industry stakeholders have sort of taken notice. They are doing, different initiatives. They're also, like you would see that a lot of women are getting playlisted in the mainstream playlists versus, just this sweet little column of women in this space.
Women, yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that change has been there. But I think there is a lot more that can be done. But I'm glad that people are sort of responding. They are sort of giving women that space. At the same time, there are these of course, like same with Apple Music and with Spotify, and that those are the primary ones that I use. Like if you just ask Siri to make a playlist for you, say that, hey Siri, make a station for me featuring all independent musicians or music from India, most of the music tends to be of male artists. Why is that? So the algorithm sort of biased. So it's just true. Even same with Spotify, like like if you do the station thing, like songs that sound like this song,
Yeah.
or you just go and make a playlist, and now they have this enhance feature. So you put up a bunch of independent artists. You put all women, okay? You put 5 women, and then you click on enhance. The rest of them will be all male. Why is that?
So
Like
clearly a lot of work needs to be done.
it's like I read a recent study which said that for every 4 male artists that are suggested, only 1 woman artist is suggested by an algorithm. So I mean, it is there. It's so it's so ingrained that like a male voice or a male narrative is a lot better. We see that women are like, I just feel like women are trying so much harder, like you see the way that they market themselves, the way they
Absolutely.
bring something new to the table in terms of sounds, in terms of their writing, in terms of their collaborations. There are so many like women artists around us. Like I'm just like in awe. Like, and when I listen to their music, it's not coming from place of, oh, I have to support these people. It's like generally the music is so good. That's what I would want to listen to. That's the song that's on the top of my head. And I just feel like whenever the time does come where like people have put together this entire um, discography in place, and it's just about, that time where people just sort of take notice, and then it just it just takes its way from there, because it is happening for independent music,
Yeah.
even though it's still more biased towards men. um but people are like, suddenly, oh, independent music is so great. There's just general um descent towards Bollywood as well, like not
Yeah.
just the music but the movies as well.
Yeah.
So people are sort of like are flocking towards independent music because it's more real. It's
Hmm.
stuff they want to listen to. And you see that change sort of happening. And I know that eventually, the once they're in that entire world of independent music, eventually they're going to be like, hey, why haven't I heard of this artist before? She's
Yeah.
so great. And then they run through their entire album, or all their entire work. So yeah, I feel like that shift will be gradual, and we can't do anything but, put out our best work and just be patient with it.
I'm glad you say that, Hanada. But when I speak to a lot of people who, I speak to people who have been completely very mainstream when it comes to listening to music. And then I know a certain bunch of people who have been following the independent music for a long time. Has it ever happened to you, Hanata? And let me know, how do you respond to it? You know, uh, Maybe somebody might have heard your music in the past and they did not necessarily associate or resonate with it the way you were possibly looking at, and then after a couple of successes that that by the grace of God has come your way, and then they are responding and reacting to you very differently, then there's a whole lot of reception, there's a whole lot of like, hey Hanita, it's very we really love what you've been doing, and we really stand your work. How do you react to that, that shift? Like, is it possible for you to kind of receive that objectively, or does it sometimes sort of is there that gnawing thought at the back of your mind that okay, success does turn things around?
um I feel like I've been sort of lucky enough to have at least my friends who, they first and foremost know me as a person, and my art is always kind of secondary to them. And I feel like I'm really lucky. I've been really lucky in that aspect, and I've just tended to surround myself with people who have been, you know, very genuine, and I have like sort of like a good radar when it comes to when it comes to, in general, you just know that, okay, someone wants something from you, and versus someone, there's this genuine connection and bond. um but yeah, I mean, I faced what you mentioned. I faced that very early on in my career, because I think the very first song that I released, it got it was called Let Me Go in 2018. It got shared by a lot of celebrities,
Yeah.
and even like at that time, Devraj Sanyal shared it, and a lot of people share, just in general, started sharing that song a lot. And that's when, all of the people that, sort of weren't as vocal about supporting my music sort of came out of the woodworks, and they were like, oh, so great. And I think, like, because I sort of saw that very early on,
Yeah.
and people did do that. And um I mean, those people, like, they are always waiting for the next step of your success.
Yeah.
So they kind of dwindle away. It's not like they just, hey, this person's successful, so I'm gonna support them and be their friend throughout.
Yeah.
That takes like that takes genuine friendship, because people, like, it cannot happen. Like, they cannot sustain it for that long. So yeah, I mean, it had happened very early on, and after that, even with the Times Square stuff and all of that,
Yeah.
like if even if people did reach out to me, it didn't come with an agenda. And I feel like that is because that stuff had sort of happened early on, and people had sort of filtered away from that. And in general, like people I tend to surround myself are like I said, they generally like this sometimes just look at me like, I can't believe you're the person that writes these songs. Because I listen to you as an artist, I'm like, wow, so professional, so nice. And then I look at you and I'm like, isne likha hai? So so I mean, that part of it is great. Like I'm glad I have such amazing friends.
For a lot of, not a lot, I would say, but yeah, for the few viewers who are possibly watching, this chat right now, I think I really love how Hanita is sitting very quiet, sweet, and, very, she's really composing herself and, giving all these amazing answers. And then there's a side of hers on social media that she very occasionally, but very sweetly unleashes is, when she gets into this, kind of ranty auntie mode of sorts, and she's like she's passing on some very scathing observations. I think one of my favorite observations about you in very recent memory was airport looks. Have you been kind of sort of able to adapt to that trend right now, Hanita, since you're constantly, not constantly, but on and off, you keep jetting between Delhi and Mumbai?
I'm going everywhere in my pajamas unless there's a conference that I had to attend, which was starting at 4 o'clock, and my flight was landing at 2. So I knew that I wouldn't have time. So I had to dress up early in the morning, and I was like, this like I have to do it because I have no other option. But people do it willingly, so I don't know what's wrong.
But when when the job does not demand it, when you don't have to necessarily dress up and look a certain way, in your right as a musician, how is style really for you? How I have always wanted to ask people, who really put in so much effort behind creating a look. Okay, we are at the airport, this is my look, we are here, this is our look. But how much does one really invest an effort and time in, really putting an appearance? Like, how do you look at all of it?
The only time I do that is when I have a show. Otherwise, like most of the times I'm just like, okay, I'll wear whatever I'm comfortable wearing. And I think the lack of public eye on me is also beneficial, because I can wear whatever I want and not be worried, okay, this person is going to like judge me, and then randomly be like, okay, great, I love your music, but what are you wearing? um and yeah, I mean, I honestly don't think too much about how I want to present myself style wise. I feel like that is something that might become really important in the next couple of years, but right now I'm just like, okay, what do I like, and I'm just gonna stick with that. Yeah.
Well, let's look at the time that you were at Austin for SXSW in 2022. I think that was huge, definitely. So, do you want to explain the experience of you were with Kayan, you were with J-Wave, and even Koborebi was also there. You all were part of this really small but very sweet little contingent, and it felt so proud just reading about it and watching all these updates on your Instagram. How was that whole experience on it?
That experience was great. Like, that was my first time going to the US. So, of course, like it was just like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Um, and yeah, I got to hear a lot of artists and just reconnecting with also the independent music folks that I generally don't tend to, speak to, because their genres are so different that we
Yeah.
don't actually tend to interact that much. But obviously there's so much respect and admiration. um so it was great. Like we just found our little India in the middle of Austin, and yeah, it was a great experience. Like I felt honored to sort of represent India on such a huge global stage.
I think when you and I had connected, at that time, Kahun To Main Bhi Kya with Zayden was like already a chartbuster of sorts in its own right, where everyone was, digging it up on social media. There were these unimaginable streams on music streaming platforms. Everyone really, loved the video so much. The fact that it had released during the pandemic and, something about the visuals of the music video had generated so much positivity, and or like, as we would like to use the word, it gave out that vibe. But watching it getting synced in the second season of Mismatch, this amazing show on Netflix, that a lot of the younger audiences of today, they kind of look it up and they really enjoyed the show, over 2 seasons. How was that feeling, Hanita, to watch a song that has been your baby for very long, being synced to a very popular Netflix show that will be watched by the globe? How did that feel?
It felt amazing. It was just like, okay, this is happening, this is real. And Mismatched is like a huge show, and felt like, when we were telling ourselves a few years back that, oh, OTT is going to be a game changer, like people are going to be syncing independent music. And then you see it happening for some of your friends, and then it happens to you, and you're like, wow, this is amazing. This just gives us so much discoverability. And it did happen for the song. The moment it was synced on to the show, this you just saw like this huge jump in streams, and people like, it's crazy. And like it sort of also tells us that, hey, there are a lot of opportunities for your song to grow. You might have released it 5 or 6 years back, and then if you pitch it to a show, it might get picked up, and suddenly it'll get the audience that it deserves. So yeah, it was amazing.
To conclude our interview, Hanita, I think of course there's family, there's friends, and then there's Master Shifu, that I so just love calling him that. And the fact that you even removed a song, to celebrate him, Khushiyon Ke Pal, last year. And I think he just he turned 4 or 5, right? Very recently. Yes. Tell us about Shifu, because I think very less in the public space do we talk about our pets, and it's so much needs to be told about how huge a difference do they make in our lives. So just tell us about Shifu in general.
Shifu is he's a very non-dog dog. He hates going he literally hates going on walks. He does not go fetch a ball. He just keeps looking, expecting me to go get it. He loves soft toys, which is bizarre. And I recently got like this customized mat for him for his birthday, which it says the Beagles in the style of the Beatles, and it has like little drawings of a beagle growing up, and it has his name, Shifu. Okay, so I was very excited that I got it for him. I kept it, where he kind of rests and takes naps. And he saw it. He moved it with his hand and decided to lie on the floor. Like, what is wrong with you? What is
He just
wrong?
rejected it.
He rejected it. He's like, what is this? Then he tried to tear it also, but because the material is really good, thanks to Heads Up Patel, material is really good. So he was unsuccessful at that attempt, and he just rejects it every time. I just keep putting it back in the same place, and he's like, I don't know why you got this for me. I like the floor better. So yeah, I mean, it's very entertaining to have a dog. because they do like random things that don't make sense. And everything that you know about a dog can be very different because every dog is so different. Like they have like these different personalities, and a lot of my friends, they get like really confused because um like dogs know what we're talking about when we talk to them. Like sometimes I'll just say like, hey, go downstairs to the kitchen, and he knows that what I'm saying, he'll just go there. He'll be like, oh, acha idhar aaja, like I'll give you this or whatever. He understands, and people are like shocked that, okay, how does he understand what you're saying? I'm like, he just does. He cannot talk, but they understand. They have like I read somewhere they have a 50-word vocabulary, but he definitely has more because he knows both. He's bilingual, so he understands both English and Hindi. So I mean, he understands stuff. He's like very smart. A lot of times, when I'm going on trips and stuff, pehle he used to cry a lot because the moment he would see me take out my luggage and stuff, he would understand that I'm leaving. So I start crying, oh my god, where are you going? And I just saw somewhere that, hey, if you talk to your pet that when you'll be back, they have a sense of time and stuff, so then they won't get upset. So every time before I leave, I tell him that, hey, I'm going for a few days, I'll see you on Wednesday. Don't trouble mom and dad, I'll be back. And then he doesn't cry, he doesn't do anything. He's like, okay, he just wags his tail and then he goes back to sleep. I'm like, how? Like, they're really smart. Like, we should give them more credit.
Yeah. No, because I also remember that very sweet video. It's I think some people should really look up on your Instagram for this. But there's this very sweet video of you instructing him like, Shifu, sit down, lie down, and then you give him a treat. And I think that's when I was like, oh, I really want this. I mean, I so crave to have a dog, but I just can't because my family, especially my mom, I mean, she adores dogs, but from a distance. But just the idea of keeping and maintaining one, seems daunting for her. But thank you so much, Hanita, for this chat. And I really know that Shifu is hugely instrumental. I know just with all his rejections and with all his very star-eyed behavior, if there's anything, he is the most supportive that he can ever be. And we have just about a few seconds before this link expires.
Thank you for having me, and it was great talking to you.